to those who are starting to watch this now, say hello to YouTube. Now, because I've visited several European countries, I'm really interested in hearing this.
Something bad about every country, in no particular order. Sri
Audio
Lanka's
works.
economy has been collapsing since 2019 thanks to a
Audio
corrupt
is good, I
government
hope.
and the evaporation of
I'll just
tourism
lower
because
it a
of the
little
Big
bit.
C. They owe about $51 billion to the world and only have about 25 million in the bank. Uganda
Jesus.
has a terrible water supply thanks to being landlocked and a weirdly booming population. I bet the government will probably help out, but they're probably just waiting for the next Mr. Beast video to drop. Besides being an
bruh, the
F-tier
fucking
apex
shade
god,
at Mr.
Mozambique
Beast.
has one of the highest birth rates, but also one of the lowest life expectancies at
What
birth.
the fuck?
Good luck, son. If you have such bad judgment that you find
Why
yourself in
does
Honduras,
that country
try not
really
to get
have
sick,
that
as
bad
they
of a
only have
birth
one
rate?
doctor per 3,000 people. Take the economic approach and just be mugged and left for dead. Freedom of speech and freedom of the press are still restricted in the UAE. Hold anti-government protests like you do in the US and you'll get stoned. Not the
That
good
is a
kind.
topic I will
Iceland
never
has
dive
committed some
into
of the
with
worst
the
political
United
atrocities
Arab.
in history.
Nope.
From purchasing green beans to shooting protected ducks and even making
What?
rude
Stop. When I pressed space, it did something on OBS.
Interesting, good kind. Iceland has committed some of the worst political
Alright.
atrocities in history.
Let's
from
see.
purchasing green beans.
So, green bean scandal. Steingrimur Hermansson, the then executive director of Iceland's Research Council, purchased green beans and other food for Surtsey Island Society, of which he was the director of accounting for. The purchases were discovered in Research Council bookkeeping, but the green beans were listed as car maintenance. How can you make an illegal purchase of green beans? It's fucking green beans, and you fucking just car maintenance. Really? Damn.
To shooting protected ducks.
The Elder Duck scandal. Herman I can't say the Jonasson. Okay, hold on. Herman Jonasson, then chief of police of Reykjavik and city representative of Progressive Party, was accused of shooting eider ducks. Damn, I'm so bad with Icelandic, which were protected. So basically, he was killing a protected species of ducks.
And even making rude.
Gloucester affair. MPs were recorded making rude comments. Now that is the biggest crime of them all. God forbid making rude comments.
Over 90% of Gabon is covered in rainforest. The other 10%
That's actually
is covered
kind
in
of
AIDS
gorgeous.
And malaria.
Oh,
When 18th
never
century
mind.
Serbian villagers experienced anything inexplicably spooky, they
Mhm.
blamed the recently deceased, dug them up, and killed them all over again.
Oh,
They
yeah,
would
the
call these
vampires.
bodies vampires.
Yep,
The
there
entire
we go.
country of
I
Lesotho is
knew
more
it.
than 3,200 feet above sea level,
I
which
knew
is pretty
that.
high, but not as high as having the world's highest self-deathing rate. Paraguay once lost a war against Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay in the late 1800s. They then doubled down and kept fighting, only to lose over 2/3 of its population.
How
in
do
the
you-
end.
how
For
do you
over 500
manage
years,
that?
the tiny island nation of Mauritius traded hands between the Dutch, French, and British, and they all dealt in heavy slave trade. The Swatini is the
okay.
last
I was like,
absolute
man, what
monarchy
kind
in
of fucking
Africa, but it's still
oh.
a dirt poor third world country. For over a decade,
fuck?
Haiti accounted for over 30% of the
Wait, is it actually pronounced Haiti? Is it not Haiti? Is it actually not pronounced Haiti? Hold on. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Hold on. How do you pronounce Haiti?
Haiti.
Oh my god, it actually is. Okay, I guess I'm wrong. Thought it was Haiti. Like Haiti, not Haiti. Oh, I'm so. Yep, words. Alright.
Atlantic
Anyways,
slave trade,
video.
importing 40,000 slaves a year at its height, but then they revolted and won independence. Israel is a huge fan of huge walls, and not a huge fan of neighbors, but not calling out any in particular.
Oh,
Djibouti
God,
is one of
nope,
the
nope,
funniest
nope,
named
nope.
countries in the world. It's also one of the
not
largest
talking about
destinations for
that.
human trafficking. A little less funny now, isn't it? You think the Netherlands looks like this, but it actually looks more like this. Montenegro translates to black.
You know, I did visit Netherlands,
Netherlands looks like this.
and the picture's not actually that far off like this one. Only if you visit during summer, like peak summer.
But it actually looks more like this.
This is more autumn vibes. Like this just gives off autumn vibes. Like more
Montenegro
depressing
translates to
coloring.
Black Mountain, and is in fact not a reference to
Yep.
your friend Monte. Translating to the savior, it's exactly what El Salvador needs since it has been ranked as having the
Montenegro
highest
is
murder rate
also a
in the world.
very
68% of
sensitive
Tanzania's
topic in the
population lives
Balkans.
below the poverty line of $1.25
By the way, it was
a day.
pronounced Hattie.
Thank you. Thank you. Fuck's sake. I... Oh man. Well, at least I got the proper correction of it. Thank you.
Plus, YouTubers should take notes. Liechtenstein was the last European country to allow women to vote in 1984.
Isn't like Liechtenstein like a really small country within Europe, if I'm remembering correctly? Like it's super
Nicaragua
tiny.
has no formal address system, so if you're trying to go anywhere, an address will probably look like third house down from the second left turn after the
What
Taco
the
Bell.
fuck?
Good luck, Amazon drivers. Sweden was a mighty empire in the late 1500s, but then they tried invading Poland. That no one has ever successfully invaded Poland.
I mean-
Sweden was no longer a mighty empire after that little stunt. Belize has a Bigfoot equivalent called El Sisamito, which runs around killing hunters.
Listen. I know
Ripping
the
off their
the
thumbs.
Swedes failed to like take Poland, okay, but they still got the flex of like being better than Norway. Like that's their like one thing that they can flex about. It's like
successfully
fuck the
invaded Poland.
Norwegians.
Sweden was no longer a mighty empire after that little stunt. Belize has a Bigfoot equivalent called El Sisamito, which runs around killing hunters and ripping off their thumbs.
White thumbs.
The country of Chad has a mad sharp jawline. It also has one of the
Of course
highest
it does.
mother mortality rates
Of
in
course,
the world.
a country
Malawi's
named Chad
president
does.
once sold off a private jet and 35 Mercedes-Benz to raise money for the country's economy. Too bad it has the third poorest economy in the world. Burkina Faso is
How
an
could she-
African
what the
country
fuck?
with the capital of Ouagadougou, which just sounds like it was
Ouag-
founded by Adam Sandler.
Ouagadougou.
In ancient Italy, the Roman Empire was at its peak in the year 117 AD.
Oh yeah,
Proceed.
history class
Whatever.
intensified.
It ended
Oh my
at 360 and
god.
fell over in the year
yeah.
476. The last traces of the Roman Empire can be found across many middle-income shopping areas in the U.S. Seychelles by the seashore. Even though it's regarded as the
Wait, are they
Garden of
actually
Eden,
called
it's plagued with
Seychelles?
terrible plastics
Oh, Lord.
pollution. Their saving grace is that their iconic sea coconuts are making me act up something awful.
Nah, though,
In
nah,
2011,
bro.
Malta held a record for most people gathered dressed as storybook characters at 453, but then was obliterated by Singapore with 1,560 in 2014.
What
Clearly,
the-
neither country has ever heard of or smelled a Comic-Con. Mali was
What do you mean, like,
60 in 2014.
this? I guess cosplay.
Clearly, neither country
I
has
guess,
ever heard of
is
or
that what
smelled
it's
a
referring
Comic-Con.
to?
Mali was home to the world's richest king, Mansa Musa. Now, it's home to the world's largest mud building. Colombia boasts a
I mean, hey,
thriving
that
coffee
mud
export,
building
but
does
they
look
also
mighty
dump cheese
impressive.
instead coffee and sell you donkey porn on the side of the road. Take your pick.
Oh,
It already
God.
sucks enough being a journalist in general, but especially in Eritrea, where it is ranked last in press freedom in the entire world. Tuvalu
just
is a
had to
tiny
check if
group of
space was-
islands northeast of Australia with an area of just 10 square miles.
It's so fucking tiny. Like, look at it. It's like right here. Oh, sorry. I'm starting to yawn. Excuse me. Is this the actual territory of it? A weird spludge of land like this?
Almost no one goes there, so who cares? Give it up for Tuvalu, everybody. Liberia had a crazy civil war from 1989 to 2003. Over 250,000 lives were lost, with most of the killing performed by child soldiers. Imagine getting 360
Jesus,
no-scoped
okay, that
by a
turned dark.
4-year-old, but IRL. Funerals in the Dominican Republic last a total of 9 days. 3 days of grief, 3 days of silence and reflection, and 3 days of acceptance. Just
They
huck
got-
'em in the ground and move on already. It is considered very
They
rude
got
to
better,
refuse
like-
food or drink in
oh.
Ukraine. Be sure to take seconds or thirds of all the food that the US is paying for.
This is kind of accurate for like Slavic countries, because when you offer food, you're kind of like you have to like when you go into guests and they are offering you food, it is basically considered rude, kind of, to refuse food. So you just have to accept, and then if offered more, you just you kind of take a tiny bit more. Just like because if you take the more food you actually consume, the bigger the compliment is towards, well, the mother or whoever made the food. It's just culture.
In 1847,
Sometimes you get peer pressured into accepting the food.
a quarter of Ireland's population kicked the Guinness-soaked bucket due to the infamous Irish potato famine. Potatoes rotted, and the British government was neglectful as usual. A million people died. You know how it is.
Oh yeah, the Great Potato Famine. That is one thing that like is just a general fun fact on the internet.
Denmark is home to some great social welfare programs and a strong education system. Too bad you gotta pay over 50% in taxes for it. The early 1600s was the darkest time in Russia's history, where a famine killed off a third of its population, and then a war killed off another half of that.
That is
Good thing
insane.
Russia's peaceful nowadays, at least. Bhutan used to be in complete isolation until the 1970s, banning any foreigners from entering it. Not that you could really get in anyway, considering it's just friggin' steep-ass mountains everywhere.
what the
I
fuck?
won't go into
Those look
detail about
gorgeous.
Greece. Pause the video here and look this up. Just don't use a work computer.
I'm not gonna.
Bangladesh's capital
I'm not
city
gonna
of Dhaka
search
is
that up
ranked
on
one of the
stream.
worst cities to live in because of insufferable traffic, pollution,
That
and
is
density,
so
just like any
insane.
other city.
I can't imagine you can like get on time anywhere with such fucking traffic, because this looks unpredictable. Like it's something that is like 5 minutes away might as well take you a fucking hour in that traffic. Jesus fucking Christ, look at the density of it.
Yeah, I guess.
Isn't it also that they stack people on bikes or like scooters as they drive around? There's like 5 to 6 people on them.
Guatemala was home to the longest Latin American civil war in history, lasting 36 years and resulting in 200,000 people getting
Fuck.
Guatemala to death. Tragically, there are no guinea pigs in Guinea. It actually
But-
really pisses
wow,
me off.
that's
North
kinda
Macedonia used to just
disappointing.
be Macedonia, but Greece bullied them into changing the name because a part of Greece is also called Macedonia. I don't know.
Wait. Okay, wait. So part of Greece. Macedonia is part of Greece, but they don't call it like South Macedonia, or it's just a region, I guess, called Macedonia.
Tunisia has some of the world's most
could be
beautiful golden
wrong.
beaches. It also has some of the highest domestic abuse rates. When Fidel
Yeah,
Castro took
Tunisia
control of
is a
Cuba,
nutshell.
he destroyed and banned all games of Monopoly. Reports of
Bro,
family arguments plummeted overnight.
why?
Zimbabwe's
Oh,
economy
okay, never
went through
mind.
the ringer
Go
beginning in
on.
2005. The government printed a $100 trillion bill. In reality,
I would feel
it was only worth
rich.
about 40 cents.
I would still feel rich even if it's 40 cents. Like, come on. How else can you say, oh yeah, I got $100 trillion banknote in my wallet, and then you pull this shit out
Give
and
it up
it's
for
just
inflation.
rocks.
Austria's main exports are automobiles, paper products, and genocidal dictators. So when Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1492, he really landed in the Bahamas. He
Oh,
also
yeah.
enslaved almost all of the locals over the next 30 years.
A lot of
Costa
these-
Rica is home to
A lot of this history stuff I just know because my history teacher used to be fucking brutal between like when I was between ages 12 to 15. We had like a history teacher that was a savage. She made you know history, like, and I mean made you know. And this is one thing I vividly remember, where she would get really pissed off at a student making noise in like the back row, and usually a teacher would tell them to like shut the fuck up, or quiet down, please. No, she threw a book at him, and it smacked him in the head real hard. Of course, he was in absolute state of shock. That isn't the worst of it. One of the incidents is when this happened to like one of my friends back then. He was just playing games on his phone. Like he placed like his called the little pouch where you keep all your pencils and stuff like that. he had a really blocky one, so he would place it in front of the teacher and then like play games on your phone, which was really obvious. Hindsight 2020. I don't know why we thought that was so smart. But she basically, the keys that she uses to unlock like her one of the teacher rooms right next to the classroom, where she has her supplies. She took out the key, turned around towards him, and didn't comment anything, and just chucked the keys at his face. And by chucked, I mean like just a proper throw, like you want to get distance on that kind of throw. Of course, after all that, parents came. There was a whole fiasco about it and all of that. That history teacher was one of the worst ones to deal with, but they taught you the most while being super aggressive. Somehow she didn't hate me, but
Mythical
it was
demon
fun.
monkey called Lamona, which screams at you from the treetops. Before he was president,
That kinda
JFK was marooned on one of
slightly
the
spooked me.
992 Solomon Islands. He was later rescued by locals only to be murdered by his own government. The island was later named Kennedy Island. China is... But I gotta say, he does look like him. St. Vincent and the Grenadines
comment.
sounds like the name of a shitty band. In reality, it's just a group of shitty Caribbean islands. I guarantee no one from Burundi will see this video because only 3% of its population has internet access. It's
Oh,
ranked as
Lord.
the poorest country in the world. Comment below if you're from Burundi.
The flag does look
Turkmenistan is
sick,
home
though.
to the Gates of Hell, a
Ah,
natural
yeah.
gas crater that has been burning since the 1980s.
And it will
Probably
never
why it's
extinguish.
one of the least visited countries in the world. Cameroon is home to over 2,000 different ethnic groups and almost zero rights for women. The buttholes in Nepal decided to be the only country in the world to not have a rectangular flag.
I
But
mean,
I guess that
listen, hot take, but more countries should have exotic flag shapes. That's my hot take. They look cool. They really do. I much more prefer an exotic shape than just like a default rectangle. Is it just me? Like, doesn't it look good? Like, shit, I would kill for that.
makes sense for a country that still uses the caste system. The country of Panama prioritizes use of freshwater reserves for the needs of the Panama Canal rather than the needs of farmers. You can't eat boats, fellas. Or can you?
I've seen those cargo boats in real life, and they're so
In
fucking
1800
huge.
Portugal,
The amount
Diogo
of
Alves killed a
like
total of
import and
76
export
people by
that
pushing
happens
him
with
off
it.
of a 200-foot ledge over the Aguas Libres aqueduct. He was caught and sentenced to death by hanging in 1840. Côte d'Ivoire, also called the Ivory Coast, is the world's largest producer of cocoa beans through child slave labor.
Oh,
You can
that took a
taste the
fucking
sweat and
twist.
tears in every bite. Yeah, Borat's homeland of Kazakhstan is a real country. Here, you can play the ancient game of cockpot.
The thing about the Kazakhstan state is, because of the Borat series, they actually banned the actor from coming back to the country. I think that happened after the first Borat movie, because the people there thought it was going to be like representing them in a good way. But no, instead it represented them like they were a shithole country.
Where two men fight over a headless goat corpse on horseback. Real fun stuff. Being a nation of islands, the Maldives will be one of the first to get wiped out when sea levels eventually rise. But look at the turtles! Dominica's economy
Aw,
heavily
cute.
relies on agriculture. This wouldn't be so bad if it weren't for all the hurricanes that just outright obliterate crops annually. One of the most popular and rapidly growing internet communication platforms was founded in Estonia.
In Estonia?
That's right, Skype.
Oh,
Everyone
Oh,
uses
yeah.
Skype. In 1991,
That kinda
Mount
died.
Pinatubo erupted in the Philippines, sending 10 billion metric tons of magma into the air and shifting global temperatures by 1 degree. But I have to use a paper straw, right? St.
Yeah.
Kitts and Nevis
Yeah,
was
we're stuck
almost
using
always
paper
home to
straws while
tobacco
China
and sugar
also
plantation
fucking
slaves until it was
mass
abolished
produces
in
plastics.
1834. Oh yeah,
But hey,
and
we
Alexander
save money
Hamilton
on
was born here. In
like we
Oman,
save
you're
the
not allowed
world
to spend more than
by
10%
drinking
of your
from
monthly earnings on alcohol.
straws
So when you
that
try
are
and
made
fail,
out of
you'll be
paper.
standing there like, oh man. Some Malayan citizens visit
Yeah.
graveyards at night, providing offerings to the dead in hopes of receiving winning lottery numbers. Syria is home to some of humanity's oldest structures in the world. Some of these remains ruins have survived over
Hold on, let me
7,000
just move
years,
myself.
only to get blown up by extremist groups. World-famous Grammy award-winning singer Angelique Kidjo was born in Benin. Oh, you never heard of her? Yeah, me neither. St. Lucia apparently has a
Sorry,
pretty bad
chat.
police
You're
brutality
on my
problem,
boobies
so
right now.
best avoid
Sorry.
going there if you want to commit crimes. You probably just get what you deserve. Nauru is another one of them tiny island nations like Tuvalu. Although it's so tiny, it is the fattest nation in the world with 88.5% of its adult population classified as obese. They've also never won an Olympic gold medal. I wonder why.
What the
Turkey
fuck?
has some strange customs with babies, from covering newborns in salt in order to give them resistance bonuses to placing
do they
a pillow under
actually-
their pillows at night for protection. Muslims
Do they
in Brunei
actually
are
do that?
forbidden from marrying outside of their own religion. It's a crime punishable by death. I do, more like I die. Anyway,
That is
it's a holiday
extreme.
in Cambodia. It's tough, kid, but it's life. It's a holiday in Cambodia.
Mhm.
Don't forget to pack a wife. Madagascar supplies 80% of the world's vanilla. Unfortunately, there are no talking animals like certain movies would have you believe.
Aw,
If you're
shame.
a bad boy or girl, you can still be legally executed by firing squad in Indonesia. So
Wait,
think
what?
twice before you commit murder.
That
or
is
decide to
still
go
a
into drug
thing?
trafficking while touring the country.
Great fucking
Palestine is the main
2024,
reason
what
why
the
Israel
fuck?
is such a huge fan of walls. Also, people have been telling me about a free Palestine, but for the life of me, I can't find where to claim it. Micronesia is a slightly
Oof,
smaller
that
Nesia
was,
than Indonesia.
an
It's not
interesting
uncommon
line.
for school children to be kidnapped in Nigeria. Since 2020, over 1,000
What?
students have been abducted and held for ransom. At least
That
it's a
is
good
so
excuse for not
fucked
doing
up.
your homework. Yemen is home to the Well of Hell, a sinkhole that local legends claim is home to a head-stealing jinn. Turns out it's just home to snakes, crocodiles, but no Robin Williams genie. On average, each Luxembourg citizen over 15 years old smokes over 6,300 cigarettes a year. And they're only the world's second heaviest smokers, right behind Andorra.
Andorra is the
Korea
first one?
is
Jesus.
Best Korea. South Africa is home to a bunch of bums because it currently has the highest unemployment rate in the world at 29.8%. For comparison,
Oh,
the
that
US
is
rate
high.
is 3.7% as of this video. Mexico. America's pants.
Mexico.
Stay in the tourist areas or the next time your family sees you will be in a live leak video. In 2018,
Yeah, we don't talk
Venezuela
about the
experienced a
New Mexico
65,000%
stuff.
inflation rate. $1 US is about 3.6 million Venezuelan bolívares. Bahrain is home to the world's largest underwater theme park. The downside? Not a single water slide. Just a big dumb plane to explore. You can't fly that thing
What?
down there. Senegal was once the largest slave
Is that
trading
like, I
center
guess,
on
an
the African
attraction?
coast from the 15th to 19th centuries, and as such is one of the biggest cases of friendly fire in history. Jamaica is a very superstitious country. There's all kinds of local legends ranging from ghosts that steal your voice to an enraged
Yeah.
flaming bull that chases you for being out late at night. Germany.
That kind of sounds badass, not gonna lie.
Uruguay has been
Bruh,
consistently rated as
we
the
all
safest
know.
country in South America in terms of violent crimes. But that also means that it's the most expensive to live in. Safety comes with a price. Bolivia was home to the greatest lake in the world, Lake Pupo. Tragically, it has fallen victim to climate
Whoa.
change and completely dried up. Is driving your gas-guzzling car worth the loss
No
of
way
Lake
changed
Pupo?
that
I
much.
think not.
Justice
Moldova
for
is
Lake
Europe's
Pupo.
poorest country. With an average GDP per capita of only $4,551, it's no wonder why all of their smart, hardworking youngings are fleeing the country for better opportunities. If you plan on proposing to a loved one, try not to purchase a blood diamond from Sierra Leone. It could end up costing someone an arm and a leg.
What
The
the
previous
fuck?
leader of Suriname, Desi Bouterse, was the military commander during a coup in the 1980s. He was arrested for drug trafficking, served 11
Mhm.
years, and was then
Mhm.
elected president
Yeah.
for 10 years before being subsequently arrested again for murdering 15 political opponents.
That
He's
is-
a real one.
that
Alright,
is-
guys,
that's
we're
a
about
lot.
halfway
That's a
through.
lot to
I hope
eat.
you're remembering to stay hydrated. If
Wonder what's
not,
gonna be
here's
about
your
my
water
country.
break.
Remember to hydrate. Viewers, drink water.
Alright, that's enough. Lebanon has a crazy garbage crisis that makes even Los Angeles look sterile by comparison. Environmentalists have tried different cleanups,
That
but the
is
crisis
so
remains, well,
I don't know
crisis.
if I
For
could
example,
live
in this
there.
image alone, you can see all of my online gaming teammates. Despite being a group of islands, Cape Verde is one of the driest countries in Africa. In the 20th century, severe droughts and famine caused the death of 200,000 people.
Ow.
Rwanda. If you're in your 20s, you probably remember learning about the Rwandan genocide at school. In 1994, nearly 1 million people were slaughtered during the Rwandan Civil War. The only reason you know the capital of Thailand is because your friend punched you in the balls shortly after telling you. Somalians are huge fans of pasta,
Bangkok.
thanks to years of colonization by Italy. Australia is home to over 2,400 species of spider. Arachnophobes? Stay away. In 1997, Ecuador had their first female
for
president.
fuck's sake.
Brasilia
For some reason, it keeps like tabbing into the second to OBS. I'm always afraid of like ever going to Australia as long as I'm on this planet, because I swear the internet has just poisoned my mind to the fact that I just think that even in Sydney, I could just encounter the most venomous spider and just croak it there and just die. I don't trust it, man. I don't trust it.
Arteaga. Before being forced to resign, she served her country for 2 whole days. Singapore has some crazy laws. Here's a few of them. Walk around your house naked, chew gum, smoke, steal Wi-Fi, sing in public, feed pigeons.
I mean, okay, wait, steal Wi-Fi like the fucking router? And sing, you can't sing in, that's illegal.
Flush a toilet, urinate,
God, I would fucking go into prison.
Or be gay.
Sometimes.
It's also illegal to unalive yourself, though I'm not sure how they'd arrest you for
sometimes
that.
I like to sing in public, or like while I'm vibing.
List of approved names. Instead of torturing your child with a dumb name, you can instead grant your child a meaningful name.
By singing in public, I just mean walking around, having my headphones on, and just sometimes mumbling a song.
Trinidad and Tobago have seen an exponential rise in violent crimes, mostly against women. Come on, guys, beat your meat, not a woman. In 1983, Sudan enforced Sharia law, subsequently banning all alcohol. The entire country's alcohol stock was dumped into the Nile River, so at least the crocodiles got lit. The national dish of Peru is
Why
called
would you get rid of that?
It's just a whole roasted guinea pig.
Bruh.
Saudi Arabia is one of the world's top executioners,
that is so fucked up,
performing 196 public executions in 2022, right behind Iran's 576 and China's unknown thousands.
I'm not gonna talk about these countries. Like, there's just opinions I got that are valid ones, but you know, if Twitter would clip it and put it out of context, I would basically get cancelled probably, or like be called a fucking hater.
Azerbaijan is known as the land of fire.
I'm not saying, I'm no comments, really.
Mountainside natural gas leaks.
All I'm gonna say is it's fucked up what those countries do to this day. That's all I'm gonna say.
The islands are riddled with bomb blast buttholes. The Central African Republic has been a complete shit show ever since gaining independence in 1960. Constant coups, internal conflict, and the like make this country a no-go. Antigua and Barbuda are 2 more dumbass islands among other dumbass islands in the dumb shit Caribbean.
That is so many islands, and they're separate countries too. What the fuck?
The Democratic Republic of the Congo, like most African countries, doesn't have a pretty past. The entire population was violently enslaved under the Belgian crown to farm and harvest rubber from trees. Africa really got the short end of the stick in history. There's a lot of things you're not allowed to bring into Uzbekistan. This includes, but is definitely not limited to...
Oh my... Wait. Okay, so... Publications, manuscripts, illustrations... You can't bring photos? Sound material, computer... What the fuck? You can't bring a USB stick? Prawns? I mean, drugs, okay. Medical machine, ozone destroyers, ethanol, coffee mix. What the military? I mean, nuclear. I mean, this makes sense. Okay. What the fuck?
Monaco is the wealthiest country in the world with over
Why is that? Why can't they bring anything?
Millionaires. Sounds impressive until you realize that the entire country can fit in Central Park in New York with a population of 38,000.
That is it actually that small?
1.5 million cats that live in Cyprus, which means they weigh
no
out
prawns?
the amount of people.
I guess no prawns. I don't know. Because there's no prawns allowed.
This is actually not a negative fact unless you're allergic to cats. You're completely
okay, I'm just gonna say this about Cyprus. When I was a kid and I played FIFA against my uncle, I didn't know what the fuck Cyprus was. All I saw was like their flag. And I was like, man, this is one dope ass flag. I'm gonna pick this team. That's it. That's all I know about Cyprus in my mind.
You're completely SOL if you have a toothache in Morocco. There's only one dentist for every 800,000 residents.
What?
Sounds like it's time to break out the pliers and do it yourself. Besides being the best
I don't trust the
country in
health,
the world,
America.
the United States is also the greatest country in the world. Togo is an African country.
I could that was so much sarcasm in that sentence. Jesus Christ.
I'll give you a wild guess what thing might have happened there. If you're a masochist, you can voluntarily spend the night in the Karasta prison hotel in Latvia, where you
Why?
can be interrogated, punished, and harassed as you sleep in a cold cell.
Bruh, like
Nigeria,
that
where you can be
officer just
interrogated, punished,
that officer looks way too excited about it. Look at that. Look at that. Man, he's gonna ooh. I'm just gonna say it now. I don't feel jealous about the inmates that like paid to be inmates.
and
What
harassed
the
as you sleep
fuck?
in a cold cell. Niger was the country you were terrified to pronounce at school, while some other kids were oddly excited to.
I mean, you know, the way we say it, the way we say it in my country, I would get banned. I would get banned because of the pronunciation, as well as saying book in my country. Yeah, because in my country, saying book is very close to that word. So, yeah, not fun.
Angola, African country. Slaves. Guyana was home to Jonestown, a lovely little town which had a sudden population decrease from 918 to 0 in a matter of a few hours.
Wait, what?
They drank the Flavor Aid and committed self-die in the name of Christian socialism. Vanuatu is a group of South Pacific islands.
That
Huge
is
fans of
small.
cannibalism, with the
Oh,
last known case occurring in 1969. According to Vanuatu cooking practices, humans take 3 to 5 hours to cook. Still no
Cannibalism
guinea pigs in
intensifies, I
Guinea-Bissau,
guess.
just citizens living off of less than $2 a day. Slovakia is home to the world's tallest cave column, which spans 112 feet high. How boring of a country do you have to be where this is a notable fact? If you want to learn about Samoa, you
come
first
on,
have
I
to
was
consider
hoping
the
for
coconuts
Slovenia.
and consider its tree. Also take into consideration Samoa's high obesity and heart disease rate. In New Zealand, sheep outnumber people 7 to 1. Be
Wait, what?
cautious.
How many
Never know when you're
sheep
being
are
watched by
there?
a sheep. Bosnia and Herzegovina is a single country but sucks as much as two. It's got some of the worst air pollution in Europe,
Yup.
high unemployment, and over
Yup.
200,000 active landmines in walkable areas.
Yup, that is so true. Like, okay, so
1. Be cautious. You
Let me
never know
just
when you're being
blah, blah,
watched
blah.
by a sheep.
all right, so
Bosnia and Herzegovina is a single country but sucks as much as two.
all right, so the reason it sucks is like it's a single country, yes, but it's separated into like 3 different parties because there's basically the Bosnians, and the Serbs. That kind of man, this is like a whole fucking thing. The political side is just chaotic. I'm not gonna go into detail about it, but it was in shambles for a very long time after their war that they had. So, and now
It's got some of the worst air pollution in Europe.
Pollution
high
is just-
unemployment, and
yeah.
over 200,000 active.
so about the active landmines, like okay, so geographically, right? My Bosnians, yes. So listen, so I visit my grandpa and grandma. Well, no, just grandma. Every now and then, like once every 2 years or something, and they live in the like bottom-ish half right here where I'm circling with my mouse. So they live there, and their house, they live on a really fucking like high, in a high altitude. And whenever I visit them, the house is gorgeous, by the way. Grandpa fucking built it himself. What a unit. In the back of the house, there's like a slope. And it goes downhill into like a zigzag pattern of just bushes and just wildlife and into a forest. You can't enter that forest because even though it's like 2 minutes away from the house, it's an active minefield. And I shit you not, I still remember this to this day. When I was a kid, I was just, taking my afternoon nappy after I ate lunchies. I heard an explosion. And what was the word is that there was a bear that essentially triggered a landmine in the proximity of our house. It's insane.
landmines in walkable areas. The only thing booming here are your legs. We all know South Korea is the better Korea. I could watch those Korean street food videos all the time.
God,
something
those Koreans
In
make
general,
they,
they're
they
pretty
do make
racist
really good
towards
food.
outsiders. Because of this, South Korea is one of the least diverse countries in the world. There's a town in Mongolia named after you. Sadly, it's
Moron.
pronounced Maroon,
Oh my
but that
God.
ruins the joke. Libya used to have the world's most boring flag. Then, after overthrowing its dictator,
It's
they
just
added
a
some
green
pizzazz
screen.
with the symbol from Link's mirror shield for some reason. Must be huge Ocarina of Time fans. Barbados. Caribbean island, let's see. Pirates and slaves. Oh yes, but white slaves too.
All right, I'm gonna call it now Slovenia. Like when it pops up, Slovenia, which is the country I reside in. The fun fact about it is probably gonna be that it's often confused with Slovakia. Watch.
Too. Enemies of the British Crown were sometimes sent to Barbados.
Or it's gonna
to
be
live as
like, oh,
indentured
it's in the shape
servants.
of a
The Czech
chicken.
Republic and Slovakia used to be Czechoslovakia, but got divorced in 1993 to find new identities for themselves, leaving behind
Yeah.
15 million disgruntled children. If you ever visit the tiny island nation of Palau, you are required to sign an eco pledge promising to be a good little boy or girl and not to cram straws directly down a leatherback sea turtle's gullet.
Yeah,
Qatar
please do
hosted
not.
the 2022 World Cup. It cost the country $220 billion
And they never
6,500
recovered
migrant
it.
workers' lives. All
Yep.
that to host one of the most boring sports in the world. East Timor, or Timor-Leste,
agree.
declared
I agree.
independence from Portugal in
I fully agree
1975.
with
It was
that.
then invaded by Indonesia 9 days later and sustained a 24-year period of violence and resistance, resulting in the death of over a 250,000 people, or a third of the country's population. The Caribbean island nation of Grenada was invaded by the U.S. in 1983 to stop Cuban influence and rescue U.S. students who were studying on the island. The Comoros Islands off the coast of
I
Africa
got no
have
comment about
experienced
that.
over 20 coups since its independence from France in 1975. Speaking of France, you can get legally married to a dead person there. The practice of necrogamy was started back in 1803
That's
as a way
real?
for women to marry their fallen soldier boyfriends. This allowed the weeping widows to become a beneficiary of their dearly departed's military pension. This
Well,
way, both
goddamn.
husband and wife end up getting the bag. In 2004, the monarchy of
Quite
Tonga
literally,
sued
I
their
guess.
court jester, Jesse Bogdanoff, a Bank of America financial advisor, for mismanaging over $14 million of the king's money on bad investments.
Jesus
Something Wall
Christ.
Street Bets joke. Brazil had a record-breaking 59,000 murders in
Some-
2017, with only 8% of them resulting in any legal consequence.
You know, is crime worse in Brazil than it is in the States? I feel like it is, right? It should be.
Ethiopia
Brazil
is
is
home to
a
the
proper
coolest place on
shithole.
Earth, the Danakil Depression, which is the country's lowest and hottest region. But don't try to cool off in these pools. They are highly acidic water pools rich in salt, sulfur, and iron, so
I can
you'll just end
see
up
the
turning into
sulfur
soup.
from this
Although
image.
Croatia is stunningly gorgeous and has the worst waste management system in Europe. Countries in the European Union recycle roughly 40% of their waste on average. Croatia is in the dumps at
What?
just 8%.
No fucking way Croatia sucks that much at doing that.
Finland recently
Man, there's
changed
just
its Air
another
Force
reason for me to make fun of them. No hate to my Croatian bros. It's just
insignia.
sometimes Croatia does things that are just a bit special.
It looks like this, but back when it was founded in
But so do
1918,
we.
it looked like this. Keep in mind that the swastika
No.
is an ancient symbol of good luck used across many
It
different
is.
cultures,
It is.
until some German buttholes tarnished the image. In Arabic, Iraq means fertile. Yeah.
Yeah.
In India, more
Very
people have
fertile
mobile
land,
phones
yep.
and access to a toilet, so
Uh-huh.
be sure to watch where you step. Since 1389, Armenians have experienced 17 different massacres, with the Armenian Genocide of 1915 being the worst, resulting in around 1.2 million Armenian deaths. Tour guides in Tajikistan used to scam tourists by charging them for Yeti sighting tours in remote valleys.
What?
Though no Yetis were ever found. Papua New Guinea? No, son. No Guinea here. Just
What's
people
up with so
practicing
many
black
Guinea
magic. 50
countries?
to 150 witches are executed each year. Spooky. Ladies, do your best to avoid Afghanistan as it's ranked worst in the world for gender equality. While there's no female heroes, 90% of the
yep.
world's heroin is produced here. Although Zambia is home to some of Africa's most beautiful landscapes, the city of Kabwe is one of the world's most polluted cities, stemming from
That
decades
does
of lead
not look
mining and
good at
smelting.
all.
Over 100,000 people have reportedly suffered from lead poisoning around the town. Ghana, another African country. more slavery. But the first to gain independence from colonists. Slaves broke their backs for centuries in Egypt so that we could have
Or
the
pyramids.
absolute banger that is the Prince of Egypt.
Oh my god. Yep. You don't have to
In
say more
Kuwait,
than
you can
that.
bet on camel racing. Oh, that isn't surprising? Well, how about camels controlled by robots? Yeah, much
What?
more interesting now, isn't it?
No way, that's real. I'm gonna have to Google that later.
Robots are really
I'm gonna
taking all
check
the
that up
jobs.
later.
Not just a state in the US, the country of Georgia slopped out the tyrannical maniac Joseph Stalin. Something that not many Georgians are proud of. Meet Chatletics, my Mauritania-locked ultimate Iron Man. Oh, wrong Mauritania. If you speak out against Gambia's corrupt government, you might find yourself kidnapped and thrown in a pit. Talk shit, get the pit. Kiribati is a group of Pacific islands. With a mean elevation of
Okay.
just 6 feet above sea level, it'll probably become one of the first victims of climate change.
Yeah, it's probably
Spain
gonna
is home
sink.
to a plethora of nudist beaches, which sounds great in theory until you see the people that actually go to these nudist beaches. Greenland is the perfect place if you hate neighbors, since it's the least densely populated country in the world with only 5 people per 100 square miles. Kyrgyzstan is just
I mean,
known,
it's still a
so
beautiful country
don't be
to
like
visit, I'll
mountains.
be honest.
Sadly, there's still no guinea pigs, even in equatorial
What's up with
Guinea.
all the
It's
guineas?
for the best though, because they would probably just have to submit to the brutal authoritarian government. The Vatican City is the smallest country in the world, even though it's just a city. The Pope lives there, and that's bad enough. Although, it's gotta be said, it would make a pretty sweet GTA map.
Does Vatican City
Iran
counted
experienced
as
an
a country?
unprecedented socio-economic
just
surge
fucking
thanks
with me,
to the
right?
White Revolution in the 1960s and 1970s. Free education, increased healthcare, extreme distribution of wealth to the working class, infrastructure reform, expansion of women's rights, and so much more. It just sucks that all of the religious nuts took over and turned it into the less than ideal place it is today. Iran absolutely fumbled the bag on this one. Canada is America's hat, and boy do they love clubbing seals to death. Chile
No
was
way,
home
that's
to
real.
Augusto Pinochet, one of the world's bloodiest
Canadians are the
dictators. He
nicest
took
people
power in
ever. There's no
1973 and
way.
kidnapped, tortured, and killed thousands. But since it was in the name of fighting communism, world leaders were just like, Slovenia. It's boring as shit.
M- Yeah. Come on, I wouldn't. Fuck's sake. This is worse than what I proposed he would say. This is so. It's boring as shit. You know what? Valid.
The Republic of the Congo is not the Democratic Republic of the Congo. In fact, it is 100% less democratic, but has the same amount of Ebola. If you didn't have malaria upon entering Kenya, you probably do now. Laos is considered the most bombed country in the world after the US dropped over 270 million
That's like
cluster
covering the
bombs during
entire
the secret war in
country.
the 60s and 70s. Over 80 million remain on the ground, still active. South Sudan. It's like Sudan, but with a cowboy hat. Lithuania was once a world superpower, until it got top rope elbow dropped by Russia in 1655 and finished off by plague and famine. Now Lithuania just chills. Norway is home
No,
to
they
many
just vibe.
beautiful animals, like whales. Oh yeah, Norway leads the world in whaling. San Marino is a tiny country state in Italy. However, there's not a single Olive Garden to be seen. Guess what? There's guinea pigs in Argentina.
Hey, we
While in
got the guinea
Pakistan, try not
pigs.
to express any non-Muslim religious beliefs, or else you might catch yourself in prison on blasphemy charges. Religious freedom ain't too good there. The people of Belarus are pretty superstitious. For example, don't whistle in someone's house or you'll blow all of their money away. To mark the end of winter, the
Damn, I
people
like
of
the
Poland
whistle.
burn
Goddamn.
and drown a doll of Marsana, the Slavic goddess of winter and death. The African country of Botswana is 70% desert, 5% elephants, and 25% AIDS. The
Oh,
small African
thank you
islands
for
of
that
Sao
fact.
Tome and Principe are major transit points for heroin trafficking. Consisting of mostly desert, only 0.9% of Namibia's land is able to be used for farming, so they have to rely on imports to feed the population. Romania is home to some of Europe's last remaining virgin forests in the Carpathian Mountains. Virgin no.
What does virgin forest even mean? There's like so many terms here that I'm listening to that I need to go back and just Google for.
Birds. Besides exporting crisp, clean water, Fiji used to be known as the Cannibal Islands, with the Fijian chief Ratu Udre Udre holding the record for most humans ever eaten.
Oh
He is known
god.
to have eaten almost 1,000 humans in his lifetime. Algeria is Africa's largest country.
That is
Only
fucked
12%
up.
of its landmass is populated because the rest is just stupid desert. Yeah, so a lot of those slavery-ridden African countries I mentioned, the UK might have had something to do with that. I also think this is food. Bulgaria
There's no-
is the most unhappy might have had something to do with that. They also think this is
What the fuck? Eddie. What am I looking at? What is this? What am I looking at? It looks like mashed potatoes. I don't know what the sauce is. Is that meat? That's meat, right? That looks like meat. I say it looks like because I have no idea. Oh, we'll just keep on moving.
food. Bulgaria is the most unhappy country in the European Union according to a 2019 survey, scoring just 4.8 out of 10 on the happiness scale. Portugal was second at 6.2. Although Germany is mostly blamed for the violence in World War II, don't forget that Japan invaded China and murdered over 20 million Chinese people using the 3 alls policy: kill all, burn all, and loot all. But anime is cool, I guess. Albania
it is.
officially
Anime's
banned
old as
all
fuck.
religious
You're
practices
looking
in
at the one right now.
1967 until the fall of
Anime shit.
communism in 1991. King Leopold II of Belgium absolutely devastated the Congo. He claimed the territory as his own property and worked it to the bone, collapsing its population by half due to starvation and exhaustion. Belgians are not too proud of their late monarch. In Switzerland in the 19th and 20th centuries, over 500,000 poor children were taken from their families and forced into farm labor. These children were called Waisenkinder, or contract children. The Swiss government officially said, "Oh, my bad," in 2013, so that's nice at least. Myanmar is currently undergoing a civil war since 2021 with over 44,000 casualties so far. But since TikTok hasn't told white women to start protesting it yet, you probably have never heard of it. Besides being the hardest song on Guitar Hero 2, Jordan is a Middle Eastern country currently experiencing one of the worst droughts in history. Everyone please send Jordan
I can't even imagine that right now.
to show support. So that's every country in the world.
Oh,
please tell me in the
we
comments
got
how I'm
the
wrong and
countries
how your
covered.
country is great, and I'll go.
So the main takeaway from this is the fact that a lot of countries did a lot of fucked up shit, and there's no guineas in Guinea countries. So like, there's no guinea pigs in Guinea countries. What a takeaway. Anyways, that's it for this video.